Hi there, welcome to Green AF. I'm Andrea Fearnley. I am the AF of Green AF. Those are my initials. I love working from home. I have a really great workspace to work in. I love that I'm accessible to my children if they need me during virtual school. I like that I can run down and flip a load of laundry. I like that I can take a break and go take my dog for a walk. I like a lot of things, but one thing I really miss is coworkers. I had one of the best coworkers at my last job. Her name is Stephanie. We had like a cubicle set up there, and we had just a half wall between us, so I could just look at her and there she was. So we would just talk about parts of the work day, like, hey, this is really bugging me, or gosh, am I reading this email wrong, or does this sound snotty to you? I miss all of that. So one of my fellow mom friends, Jade, an owner of Made by Jade, she's got a little Etsy shop if you want to check her out, had this great idea of, she set up a Zoom link and the two of us got shit done. I was working on Green AF stuff. I think she was making a cake for something. I don't remember what it was, but it was really effective. So I got more done in that, I don't know if it was an hour and a half or 2 hours. I don't even know, because it went by so quickly. One day my needle broke on my serger machine and I was like, well, shit, what am I gonna do now? And Jade's like, well, do you have any fabric that you can be cutting? I'm like, well, yeah, actually. And that's something it's not my favorite part of the job. So it was great. I set my iPad up on my cutting table and I just was cutting away while Jade's talking away, and it was great. It was a simple thing to make a daunting task manageable. How great is that? Well, Jade isn't available 24/7 and I'm sad. So I thought, gosh, what if instead of just me sitting there talking to Jade all day or talking to myself and my kids thinking I'm completely bonkers, what if I just take a minute and highlight a print from Green AF? So all of the prints of Green AF are those that I've hand chosen. These are all prints that I like. The first print that I'd like to talk about, it's a brand new print. I just put it on my website, and it kind of brings me back to like 1999 and early 2000. This is back when I was in high school. I think I was a sophomore and junior, right around those years. And Thursday nights were kind of a big deal back then. If you were alive back then, you probably know that Thursday night was Friends Night. And at our high school, the musical was like a really big deal. So if you made it into the musical, it was just really something special. They put on really great productions at my high school, and I really had a good time. But it was a huge time commitment. I can't remember how often we had practices, but I want to say it was like 5 days a week. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I'm not really entirely positive, but I am positive that we always had rehearsal on Thursday nights, which was a bummer because it was Friends Night. I loved that show, and pretty much everybody did during that time. And I don't know, I still do. I imagine everybody else does. My husband not so much, because he's more of a diehard Seinfeld fan. But luckily, he waits until I fall asleep before he changes the channel for Friends, and I do love him dearly for that. Anyway, Friends. We had musical on Thursday night, so I wasn't home to watch Friends. And that was back in a time where if you weren't home to watch your show, you had to wait until they aired that show again. It wasn't like you just had on demand back then. You couldn't just like click in with your remote and be like, oh, list all the Friends episodes and pick whatever one you want. You had to wait. Sometimes it was a week before you could watch that episode again. So if you missed it, you were pretty much screwed. Well, luckily, back then, we had these little devices that were called a VCR. Perhaps you've heard of one before. They had these like cassette tapes in them. I think they were called a VHS. It was like this big old clunky black thing. It was like this thick. If you were around back then you know what I'm talking about, but if you're a little bit on the younger side, this might be news to you. I'll tell you, you missed out because we had to get really creative back then with our VCRs and our VHS tapes. So with your VCR, you could record a show, but my VCR was just a regular plain VCR. So to record a show, you had to be home and hit the record button. You couldn't just program your VCR to like record at a certain time on a certain date. That kind of VCR was a fancy VCR. I had two best friends in this time. They were both a year ahead of me in high school, but all three of us were in the choir, and all three were in the musical, and we just hit it off. So their names were Kathy Yeagerliner and Stacy Hall. Luckily for me, Stacy had one of those fancy VCRs where you could program it in ahead of time and say, hey, on Thursday night starting at 7:55, I want to record this channel for this long amount of time. Luckily. She was fancy. So on Thursdays, she would program her VCR. I think I would even call her before we went to play practice to remind her to set it up to record friends for us. And then we go to rehearsal, and then the next day, she would bring that VHS to school. So I don't know if she would watch that show as soon as she got home from play practice, because it was really late at night, it seemed like. I mean, I think we had rehearsal till like 9 o'clock, which as an adult doesn't seem that late, but as a parent looking back, like 9 o'clock, geez, that seems really late. But anyway, or maybe she would just get up early and watch it before school on Friday. I'm not really sure. I might have to see if you're watching this, make sure to let me know so I can quit wondering about it. Anyway, she would bring that VHS to me on Friday and I'd watch it. Maybe Kathy would watch it, take it and watch it then too. I can't remember for sure. And then I had to make sure to bring back that VHS tape to Stacey so she could record over that episode with the next episode. It was a whole ordeal. It was carefully orchestrated and choreographed because Thursday night was Friends night and you just had to be able to know what happened on Friends. It was a really big deal. I like how my husband complains that I like to watch Friends while I fall asleep. But I think it's just a show because really, he knows everything about those 6 friends. He's always bothered, like how could Ross get with somebody like Rachel? By this point in the video, you might be wondering, hey, AF, WTF, does Friends have anything to do with Green AF? Well, wonder no more, I will tell you. So, you can imagine how excited I was when I was looking at different fabrics to order for Green AF, and I came across this one. I just love it. It just makes me so happy. I'm excited and I would love to hear your friend's story. Do you have any friends that just went out of their way to help you out with something that seemed important at the time? Or do you have a particular memory? What was your favorite episode of Friends? I love to hear from you. Please comment. And until next time, I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too.